A Yemenis-U.S. conflict is brewing in the Middle East. Is the Gaza conflict expanding? You be the judge. You're on, Liquid Monkey. Sorry, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much for having me. What is this thing going on with the Yemen? I mean, apparently, what's going on here?
I mean, basically, what's going on is the U.S. is now entering a Yemenis conflict and expanding the regional conflict in Israel. And I said this would happen. I predicted this would happen, and now it's happening. So Saudi Arabia has been in Yemen for over a decade. They started a war in 2014 where they tried to replace the regime. It failed, a U.S.-backed regime change. The Houthis, which is basically a regional, it's like a political group, took control of the Yemenis. Yeah, and there was a civil war between these two different tribal organizations. And then Saudi Arabia entered it, poured tons and billions of dollars and lives into this conflict, and eventually ended in a ceasefire brought on, I believe, by the Chinese government. Yeah.
As I understand, and I could be wrong, but isn't Yemen a very, very poor country? I mean, what sort of projection capability has Yemen in order to be able to become a player in the Middle East conflict?
I mean, basically, Yemen is one of the poorest countries in the Gulf states, or in the Middle East, if you want to look at it that way. They have some oil, they have some resources, but the thing is that they're politically and economically unstable. It's an unstable country within the GCC. GCC standing for the Gulf Coast Countries Alliance. I know Qatar was removed. There was an alliance with Qatar and the other GCCs with Yemen, and they were removed. And I guess they were removed because of their relationship with Iran or in Palestine, something of that nature. But this is basically a greater Palestinian conflict, if you will.
So essentially what it seems to be is that Yemen can't feed its own people. It can be qualified as a failed state. And
no, it's a failed state.
Yeah. It is a failed state, I mean. And now many other major players are pouring money into Yemen. And apparently, what I seem to understand, I mean, this is so. I checked something on the on internet, and apparently, it started all in October 19th this year. Apparently, an American warship close to the Yemeni coast brought down 4 cruise missiles and 15 drones on a 9-hour period while they were heading north of the country. These attacks were attributed to Houthis that they claimed for themselves to have launched these ballistic missiles and drones against Israeli objectives. Now, where or how, that would be the best question, did the Yemenis got their material, got the money to purchase the materials, and why? And this is the thing: why would they want to attack Israel when they have more pressing things in their hands?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is from what I understand, Yemen is receiving aid from Iran. That's what's believed. That's what the State Department is pushing. That's what the global news media is pushing. I don't think that's far off. I think that's probably pretty accurate.
Occam's razor. The easiest explanation usually tends to be the truth.
Correct.
So, okay, we have a failed state that cannot feed its own people, launching missiles and poisoning it themselves to, I'm sorry, I could be wrong, but invade or mobilize forces to aid the Palestinian cause?
Yeah,
or
I mean,
simply,
basically. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
or simply throwing missiles and drones on Israeli territory?
Well, if you know the region, maybe you think. I guess maybe let me see if I can bring up a map. Let me see the GCC map. Basically, Yemen is off of the Red Sea, and the Red Sea is a very heavily. It's a shipping lane. It's one of the most one of the biggest and one of the most I guess shipped or yeah,
That's it.
used shipping lane in the world. I mean,
It's
it's
an
where
avenue.
all the
It's
yeah,
an avenue of super tankers. It's an
exactly.
avenue of oil super tankers. Imagine. Could we just exaggerating? But imagine this: Fifth Avenue in New York, but with super tankers that feed the world. And oil is everything. Oil is your light, the light that powers your houses. Oil is the plastics in your products, even in your toothpaste, on your toothbrush. Oil is the rubber in your car. Oil is everything everywhere. So okay, now we're saying this. Okay,
So
Yemen.
yeah, I'm just saying, like as you can see from the map, Saudi Arabia is obviously the largest country within the GCC. So the GCC contains Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, which is not a well-known country,
I
Oman,
see.
And there's Yemen there at the south. So
Okay.
you see where Yemen is in comparison to Somalia
Yes.
there at the bottom. Somalia, there was a if you recall the Black Hawk Down incident that
Yes.
was where yeah. So they're right off the coast of Yemen. So you have the shipping lane that is basically bottlenecked between two basically failed states, two like basically rogue states within the region. And if you could see the Red Sea from Israel, that's how most of the consumer goods get into Israel via China and Asia. They go through the Arabian Sea into the Red Sea, and then they port into Jordan and Israel. So this is a logistical nightmare for the Gaza conflict, because this is one of the shipping lanes that the U.S. military uses in order to get aid into Israel and military equipment.
Just for the sake of information, let's remember that all the major powers in the world have bases in that area. I'm talking about armed to the teeth.
Yeah,
Mainly,
China.
yeah,
Yeah,
in China,
China, U.S. Yeah.
England, France.
Mhm.
Everyone is there protecting as we mentioned before, this avenue of oil super tankers that feed the world. We're talking about this is if this is nothing should happen here. If anything happens here, it's a catastrophe. So understanding this, Yemen, a failed state, apparently, which just happens to be quite far away in terms of distance, can get closer via the sea. Of course, this has to be authorized by Saudi Arabia.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like there's no real threat directly to Israel from Yemen. As you can see, Saudi Arabia separates it. In Saudi Arabia, they have Patriot missile defense systems and a lot of military. They have, if you look at like the border there in the west of Yemen, there's a huge military buildup of Saudi Arabian forces and bases. So, I have friends that were in that part of the region, and they were telling me that they would from time to time they would have rockets hit certain targets. Because I worked in oil in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of my friends work in oil projects, and yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like Iran, the biggest threat from Iran and Yemen is hitting those fuel depots and the oil wells, because that'll disrupt oil and production coming from Saudi Arabia. And now, because of the shipping lanes, because they're attacking the ships that have no weapons, they're civilian vessels. They're basically, for lack of better words, fish in a barrel, or basically sitting ducks. They move very slowly. They go in shipping lanes. They don't deviate from those shipping lanes, and they're easy targets.
I have a word for that, and the word is massacre. Would that be a
Yeah.
correct assessment?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean exactly. And as we saw with Somalia, pirates were boarding these ships, and there was a big issue for a long time. The navy was spread thin. They had other operations with Iraq and Afghanistan around the world, so it was difficult. Other nations allied up. They sent naval vessels to try to defend against this piracy. But we're starting to see this from Yemen. And Yemen will start boarding ships, as I talked about before, with piracy and privateerism, that
Right.
allied nations, in the past in history, would use privateers in order to disrupt commerce and logistics to affect the outcome of a conflict. And we're starting to see that now. Obviously, Iran probably is supporting this, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't have that information, and that any of that information is probably classified. So
This is just two dudes talking. Simple as that.
yeah, yeah.
I
Just
got a
my
question.
opinion,
Yeah.
my analysis. That's all.
Take it. Just take it for the fun and information purpose.
Exactly. It's an informal cyber cafe for that reason. It's just two guys talking, and some are very knowledgeable. Some are up to date with media and whatnot. But continue.
You're
Sorry, brother.
you're not required to take us seriously. Not this time at least. So I got a question for you, Josh. The question is this one: Didn't Israel and Saudi Arabia join forces in order to battle a common foe, which was Iran?
Yeah. I mean, there was the current situation is that China had come into the region, and they were developing peace deals with the GCC, with Egypt, with Turkey, to build pipelines into Syria and to extract oil off the coast of Israel and Gaza, for that matter. There is oil and gas off the coast of Gaza, by the way, guys. So their intention was to try to supply Europe with oil and gas, so that Germany and Europe didn't have to depend so much on Russia for LNG. And obviously, with this regional conflict that arose, we're in day 70, I believe. That's stopped. All those deals have pretty much went away, and now Turkey is done. They're like, we no longer want to work with Israel at this point. So, I had said originally when we first talked about this on the channel, that basically I believe that Iran did a power play, because they were like, not even a week before this conflict began, Saudi Arabia is about ready to sign a peace deal with Israel, or not a peace deal, but a trade deal with Israel, for LNG transportation from Saudi Arabia through Jordan and Syria and whatnot.
What comes to my mind, and I could be wrong, but what comes to my mind is that although they signed these trade deals and probably non-aggression pacts on a state level, the hatred that the common folk in Saudi Arabia have towards Israel is so much so that they are willing to let go of misgivings in order to harm Israel.
Yeah, I mean, all roads lead through Israel at this point. It's not a coincidence. We know that the reality is that the conflict in Israel is a direct result of Iran trying to interrupt commerce in the region, because it's a threat to their oil revenues and to their legitimacy as a oil producing state. That's my analysis.
I got a question for you. Oh, another one. It's not so much about Israel in this case, but about the internal politics and sociology of the Arab states. I mean, and of course, Iran. Let's just remember to the people who need not to know, is that Iran is not Arab racially speaking. Many of them are Muslims, true, and they have a Muslim majority that rules the nation, yes, but they are racially Persians, and they have an inheritance that is not Arab but Zoroastrian, which I believe this may lead to a different sort of pride and belonging that may lead to animosities between the other nations, the other Arab nations, which are Arab themselves, such as Yemen, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Eritrea, and other ones. This clash of civilizations lead to internal strife, or do they get along in this Muslim brotherhood?
It's interesting. Like I said, at the end of the day, it comes down to dollar bills. I mean, everything comes down to money.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've ever been to Dubai, you would know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the reality is that it's like, okay, the U.S. wants to trade with this country, but they don't want to trade with this country. Israel wants to work with this country, but they don't want to work with this country. And at the end of the day, America's paying the bills and they're pumping the oil. And they're supporting what country has the best interest for them. Now, if you remember going back to the 70s with the oil crisis, which we're seeing a certain oil price again now because the same players are occurring again. It's like a broken record, just keeps repeating itself. The U.S. was in Iran and they were pumping oil and they were producing a large vast of oil. And then there was the conflict between Iran and Saudi Arabia, if you remember, with the oil embargoes. And that's what was the result of the oil crisis. So we're seeing that same thing today. And it's kind of an interesting situation because during the Trump administration, we were oil independent in the West. And after Biden's regime took over, when he killed the Keystone Pipeline, now all of these problems are starting up again, especially with Russia. I mean, did the Biden regime want to start these conflicts, or was this just coincidence? You be the judge, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to give it. I don't dare to give any answers because I don't have all the data. But it's
suspicious.
Like observing the people by their deeds, you shall know them. Either they were they were very stupid, or they were intentionally killing deals to favor other players.
Yeah, probably the Israelis, but who knows? I mean, we're not in those boardrooms, and we're not and yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it is what it is. The conflict's expanding. It's now becoming a regional conflict, and eventually it will grow into other conflicts as it continues to ensue. I believe this will be a long conflict. It's going to be another long war, and it's going to cripple the U.S. economy eventually. You know, because they're just throwing money at it. There's another scenario here is what happened to Ukraine.
Okay. What happens to Ukraine?
They defunded Ukraine. I don't know if you remember, but actually, let me see if I have the video on it. Actually, I'll post the video, but go, talk, yeah.
I actually, to chip on, to chime in on that, I don't remember Ukraine. It's been a long time since I haven't been remembering Ukraine. Ukraine has simply faded out from the news. Do you remember that Ukraine used to be all around the news every day, just like COVID, like the bug, the you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the bug.
And they're simply just gone. And now all the media interest seems to be on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that seems to be expanding. Now, just to not to beat the horse to the death again. What seems to be this is going to be a long run. Do you think there's going to be an oil spike, an oil price spike for the common consumer?
I don't think there will be an oil spike because there, like I said, the last straight talk that we were talking about, Cybercat, or the economic talk. I think it was Cyber Cafe 2, or it was 3. It was 3. I think it was 3. I had said that basically there's a slowdown in the economy, and basically oil you'll start to see oil go down temporarily.
Temporarily.
Yeah, I think it will go back up once the cuts start happening, and then there's a supply line shortage because of these ongoing conflicts that require oil and diesel, especially. You will start to see oil start to spike. Yes.
I interrupted you. I am sorry. I'm going to say something about Ukraine, that it was being defunded. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, hold on. Basically, Ukraine. I wrote an article in January on my local channel. It said that the Ukrainian conflict would come towards an end towards July, end of the fall, and eventually would be defunded to economic reasons. I didn't expect the Israeli conflict to brew up as it did, but obviously it's the same thing. I was spot on with the timeline.
What will happen, just as a closing remark, what will happen to Ukraine?
Personally, I think that Ukraine will it will be defunded, and you'll see what happened there, like what happened in Afghanistan. The United States will pull out, funding will pull out, and eventually it'll erupt in chaos. And Zelensky will leave, and he'll flee to the United States to avoid persecution. And then you'll have a new regime. You'll probably have a Russian-backed regime take over, most likely, and in the future, within the next year or two.
This brings me this image of a completely desolated field of burned buildings and corpses all around, with vultures swarming the sky. This is what I believe, and for nothing, completely for nothing. How many young men have died for this pointless war that led nowhere?
More than we can count at this time. Yeah, it was a pointless, fruitless war over oil and gas and Donbass and the Crimea Sea. That's it. All these conflicts over the last 2 decades, even going back to the first Gulf War in the Middle East, was over oil and energy. They're energy wars. It's just an extension of energy wars from Bush Senior administration onward. Yeah, that's my closing remark, by the way.
Thank you so much, Bob, for having me in this Straight Talk Cafe, Josh. It's as always. Although this is not an information piece, but these opinions always lead to an enlightened outcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, brother. Like I said, you're always welcome. You're my co-host, and like I said, it's always great to have you on the show. But thanks, guys. If you want to, we'll start a volume 5, Passport Bros. If you guys want to stick around for that later.
Remember, like and subscribe. Remember, you help us grow. We need to grow.
Yeah, don't forget to donate. We're on Venmo.